Welcome to Fish and Rice, Stories from Japan. I'm Toby.
I'm Andri.
And today we welcome our new guest, KiraKira.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you for coming. You are a wonderful drag queen here in Osaka.
Thank you.
Came in full drag.
Yeah.
Beautiful hair.
Pokemon drag.
Stunning
today.
makeup.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And we want to know a lot about drag in Japan today. So this is why we have you. But first, maybe you can introduce yourself a little bit. Who are you? Where are you from? And what brings you to Osaka?
So my name is KiraKira, but I'm originally from Nottingham.
Okay.
Yeah, Nottingham in England, the UK. So I moved to Japan about 4 years ago, just before Corona.
Good timing.
Yeah, good timing. I started as an English teacher, and at that time I wasn't doing drag. But then, you know, as a gay boy, I was going to all the like drag queen events, and then I became a drag queen.
So drag is something you actually discovered really here in Osaka.
So I've always been interested in drag, like you know, you were saying earlier, RuPaul's Drag Race.
Yes.
So I've always been watching that, and I was doing dress up, like doing makeup at home, but becoming a drag queen was in Japan, Osaka.
Okay.
Yeah, that was my start.
So before we jump into that, I want to know a little bit more. How was it for you to move to Japan? Why did you decide to come all the way from Nottingham here?
So when I was about 12 years old, at my school in Nottingham, they had like a Japanese program.
Oh, cool.
So I was like really interested in like anime, as you can tell, anime and Pokemon stuff. So I wanted to start learning. And then at university, up until then I was studying Japanese. So then after university, I was a bit like, what skill do I have? So it was Japanese and English. So that's how I ended up in Japan. Any
reason you chose Osaka instead of most people go to Tokyo, or some want to go more countryside?
Yeah, so I did a study abroad in Kobe, so near here, and that was like probably like the best year of my life, learning Kansai Ben. So then when it came to coming back to Japan to live here, I felt like Kansai was like my home, in a way, and like the way people communicate with Kansai Ben, so
more
friendly,
casual, very welcoming people.
And in Nottingham, it's very the same, like it's very casual, so it felt like the Japanese equivalent of Nottingham in a way,
And so you arrived here 4 years ago, and kind of you were saying you started doing some makeup at home, and you were already interested into drag. Can you, before we dive more into drag, explain a little bit for some listeners maybe that don't know what it is? What exactly is drag, maybe by definition, and what does it mean for you?
So everyone has their own definition, but for me, I think drag queen, you could be, like anyone can be a drag queen.
Okay.
So like it's less about if you're gay and you want to put on makeup. It's more like an art form, or like a kind of performer.
Self-expression.
Yeah. So there's a good drag queen in Kyoto, and she's like a biological female, but she's a drag queen. And like you can have men who are straight be drag queens.
So it's not restricted to gender, to sexual preference, to anything. It's like anyone. Exactly.
But of course, the majority are gay men. That is the majority. But yeah, I would say.
What does it mean for you, drag? When you first heard about drag, what was it that made you think like, oh, I want to try that.
Yeah. I want to try. I think because it's just so like when you see people do drag, it's like it almost doesn't feel like a human in a way, like you feel like a superstar, even though you're just putting on a wig, right? So I think for me it was kind of like tapping into, you know, not your true self, but like something more. Like before that, you know, just as an English teacher, you feel like I always had to wear a suit and stuff, and it's quite restricting, and you feel a bit boring, for lack of better words. So I feel like when you drag, you can dress how you want to be. You're not restricted. You can like express yourself. So I think
what would be the most important, like when you see drag on TV? You mentioned RuPaul's Drag Race, probably the most famous show for the drag community. The dresses, the wigs, the makeup is all like extravagant. It's like over the top. And today you as well came like very bright blue and flashy colors. Is that necessary for drag, or is it possible, for example, to have a more subtle dress or outfit, or does it have to be kind of very expressive?
So I think like I know some drag queens where their brand is like wearing all black and like a blonde wig. Like that's like different styles. Like I don't like to say my drag is campy, but a lot of people say that's my category. So like that's why I often wear quite bright colors. But I think a lot of Japanese drag queens as well, they like have natural hair color. Same in the UK, like human hair wigs. So like a lot of queens will have like hair, like real hair.
Use their real hair.
This is not real. This is plastic.
So they use a wig made from real hair.
Yeah, real hair. So that's another like Kim Kardashian style drag. Yeah, and then there's more like cartoon. Like so probably I'm a bit more on the cartoon side. And then what other categories? Yeah, sexy drag. I know one drag queen in Japan, Osaka. She's a burlesque. So a lot of hers is like finger waves. So yeah,
it's kind of very retro a little bit, and okay. And so when you step into drag, beyond the self-expression, where you want to be another self in a way, if I can say that like that. What is it about drag? Is it about being part of that community? Is there a sort of objective of spreading a message, of making people happy, of making people engaged? What kind of purpose beyond self-expression do you find in drag?
So I know a lot of queens who do like, as I think you were kind of saying, like activism. So like a lot of people do it for that reason, to spread message. But I think mine's more on the community side maybe, because before doing drag, I didn't really have any gay friends really. It was all people like so I had a lot of like female friends, but then through drag you meet other performers who tend to be gay or like in the LGBT community. So like from doing drag, that's how I met like my kind of not only drag family but like LGBT family in a way.
So they're kind of quite interlinked.
Exactly, yeah.
I want to get back a little bit to your journey into becoming a drag. What was the moment where you first decided like, today I'm doing it. Today I'm gonna put on a wig, I'm gonna put on the makeup, and I'm gonna go to a bar or an event where there's a lot of drags?
It was a bit random. Like I think I was just getting more and more obsessed, because for me drag is a bit of an obsession. So it was getting to the point where I was like, doing it in my house to do a TikTok isn't enough. So I wanted to like kind of, so I actually started doing drag, not in like doing shows, but I actually started as working in a drag queen bar. And that's probably like the Japanese style. So you know how in Japan there's snack bars?
Yes.
Like that is it. So the drag queen equivalent of that is how a lot of drag queens work Monday to Saturday. So that's how I started, because that's probably the easiest way to start like doing drag regularly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it I mean, I feel like it's quite less known in Japan, maybe the kind of the concept of drag and so on.
Yeah.
If we look at RuPaul's Drag Race in the US, it's a big show. It's popular on Netflix. It has a lot of viewers from the community, from outside the community. How is the community here in Japan, and maybe more specifically in Osaka? Did you find there's a lot of people doing drag, or was it like hard to kind of get in? And
so like there's many camps of drag in Osaka. Like there's the foreigner side, where all the drag queens or all the performers are foreigners. Some can speak Japanese, some can't. And then there's like another camp which is a bit more like selected, like harder to enter, which is like the Japanese drag queens. And there's of course like Kohai Senpai. So for me that was difficult, I would say. But like, yeah, so I would say they're not really connected yet, but I think in the future they're gonna
merge together.
That's my hope, because you know we're all doing the same thing. But right now it's very like separate camps.
And so what you just mentioned is interesting. The Japanese drag community seems to have the same kind of social norms a little bit. The kohai senpai, so the person that has been there longer and the person that just joined, and they have this kind of mutually respectful relationship. This applies to the drag community as well.
I would say it's even more intense.
Really? How so?
Well, of course, there's the way you speak to like a senpai queen, like obviously being respectful. But I don't know that it's in everything, like the order of like list of performers, the opportunities you get. There's like different establishments. Like because I started in a drag queen bar, so I was educated a lot about I'm trying to think. For example, we'll be in a table drinking, and there's just subtle things like, oh, you look at your senpai to see how much they're drinking, and if you're drinking more than them, then that's not good.
Oh, you have to
so
slow
you
down.
always so you have to always be like double checking. So it's all those small things that you wouldn't pick up on, but you obviously get told. And luckily, you know, I'm foreigner, so they understand. They're very nice to tell me this. But there's no, if I was not Japanese, if I was not foreigner, there'd be no one to tell me that. You just have to pick it up. Yeah.
And so in the foreign drag community here in Japan, it's more like it's just a community of people that like tight knit together.
Exactly. Yeah. So and then on the foreigner side, it's very free. Like there's no rules. So that just if you want to perform, you can perform. Yeah. So it's completely different. Yeah.
When was it that you had your first performance?
My first performance was at the bar.
Oh.
So the drag queen bar I worked at, on a Saturday night they would often do like a show time of the queens there. And then from that, I kind of got like my confidence. And then after that, I was able to do a foreigner event. So a gaijin, like a party for gaijin. And that in Kobe, that was my first time.
Were you nervous?
Yeah, I was. Yeah, definitely. Because it was different. Like at the bar, I knew everyone. So I was like, oh, I'm performing in front of my sisters. But this was a bit more... professional.
Professional. Yeah. When you have a show like that, so what I know from drag when looking at, for example, RuPaul's Drag Race, I saw they have different categories. They'll have a performance like dancing, maybe some singing, some art, like different things. When you do a show like that, what kind of performance do you put on?
I would say I'm a bit manic. I would say I see a lot of drag queens and they're very elegant and they move so nicely, but I think I'm a bit on the crazier side because I'm not a dancer, but I like to have a lot of fun. I like to move, so I think I kind of just embrace just being stupid. I think my friends would call my style quite stupid, but in my opinion, that's drag. Yeah,
everyone's enjoyment, right?
Yeah,
especially for yourself, right? If you enjoy it, then.
For me, it's not that serious. I think if I'm trying to be so serious, it wouldn't be my style of drag. But I know a lot of performers where they're like choreography and it's very like this is serious as well. Yeah.
Since you've been doing drag only in Japan here for about 4 years now, have you had the opportunity to do it maybe back home in the UK or somewhere else and compare the communities?
Yeah, so last Christmas, that was the first time I went back since Corona. So I went back and I did a few performances in England. I did it in my hometown actually, the first one. It was exactly how the foreign events in Osaka were. It was the same app because funnily enough, the foreign events, 90% of the people are from the UK.
Oh, interesting.
So it doesn't actually feel that I feel like I'm in England when I'm there, to be honest with you. They're like the all British drag queens there. Just by chance, it's not on purpose. Yeah. So it didn't feel that much different, to be honest with you. But when I'm in the exclusively Japanese drag queen events, it's a completely different experience.
Is it more staged?
It's more, so it's interesting. So when there's a foreigner drag queen event, everyone's standing and they're all like, yeah, we're good. But then when it's when it's a Japanese event, everyone sits down and they like stare at you. So it's a bit more nerving sometimes. Intimidating, because if you fall over, it's dead quiet. As in a, you know, you fall over or whatever in a foreign event and everyone's like, yeah, like
get up.
Yeah,
keep dancing.
Keep dancing. It's more forgiving in a way. Yeah.
Well, what do you feel like the reception from this Japanese audience? So you say they sit down, it's more quiet, they look at the show. Have you had the opportunity to talk to them maybe after the shows?
Yeah. So yeah, I kind of I don't like, to be honest, if you were to ask me, oh, which do I like more, I would say there's not one, they're completely different. But I would say, like, in the Japanese events, they kind of maybe respect, they see it as more of an art form because they're sitting down, they're enjoying it more, they're taking in the performance more. As in a foreign event, they're more like, they may be drinking, chatting with their friend at the same time. So it's a different kind of atmosphere, I would say.
So the Japanese audience sees drag more as a like artistic performance rather than a community?
I would say they're both communities, but it's a bit more it's crazy in between the show, like, because there'll be like a dance time or whatever, that's where everyone's kind of going wild. But when it's the show time, they take it in and it's a bit more I kind of like that in a way though. I might prefer that a bit more.
It gives you the full attention of the people you're performing for, right?
You feel like you have to try harder because, you know, if everyone's standing up, you're like, it doesn't matter. But yeah, it's a bit more like, I feel like I have to take it more seriously in that time. And usually it's only me or one other foreigner drag queen. So you feel like you have to, you know, represent more in a way. Yeah, because there's not that many. Because I think to really participate in these like Japanese exclusive events, you have to speak Japanese. So it's a bit more, it's a
difficult.
Difficult to enter. So there's only probably like 3 foreigner drag queens who will be doing those events.
How big are those events? Like, it's hard for me to imagine how many drag queens participate, how many people attend to view. Is it big? Is it growing in Japan?
I would say it's getting bigger. Like in Osaka, the one I can think of, there's a drag queen event called Neon. So that'll have about like 15 drag queens. Oh. And that's like the large scale. And then on a smaller scale, maybe 4 or 5.
4 or 5.
Yeah, okay. 4 or 5. But in Tokyo, there's recently a drag event called Opulence, which is like RuPaul Drag Race queens come.
Wasn't it recently in the news, like a few weeks ago or something like that? That's the one?
Yeah, that one. So that one, that has less of a cast, but the crowd is like, I think there was about more than 1,000 people there. 2,000, I think, around that.
That's a big crowd.
And TV and stuff. So yeah. So that was that's the big, I would say that's the biggest one.
But the community is growing.
Yeah.
Every year, a few more people join and a few more people attend.
I would say it's because of the TV show. Yeah. Because I think even that Opulence I was saying, that wouldn't be that without the TV show.
Yeah, it put the spotlight on the community, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like that's even affecting the style of drag.
How so?
Because I feel like there's what's it called? Old school drag. And that's the same everywhere, even in England. Like old school drag in England is very, like, not good. I don't want to sound bad, but not polished makeup as much. And it's more about the comedy. It's not about the look as much. And then because of Drag Race, it's become more about looks.
So kind of which character you get into when you step on stage and which color you chose, which outfit you chose.
Yeah, as there wouldn't be as much thought about it. It'd be more about having the fun or making people laugh. As now it's a bit more like fashion.
It's kind of getting very mixed together, right? The fashion scene and the drag scene and...
Yeah, it's kind of merging right now, I think. So that's good in one way, but I feel like the thing I like about drag also is the fun side. So sometimes people can get very into the looks and then they kind of forget to have fun.
Yeah.
Like becomes too serious.
Like judging, like, is this a Paris fashion show? And
yeah,
then
like,
just,
oh, you've worn that outfit before.
oh.
And it's like, this is just, just drag. But then again, that part of the expression side, you want to get a new outfit or new wig or whatever.
How do you rotate your outfits often? How do you have a big closet just for drag outfits?
Yeah. So my house is actually it used to be an Airbnb.
Oh.
So there's 4 bunk beds. But I don't use them to sleep on. I put my wigs on. so on the bunk beds, it's just about, I don't know, maybe 50 mannequin heads. No, I'm being a bit dramatic. About 30 mannequin heads, and they've all just got wigs on. So it's my own house is no longer a place for a human.
It's a drag outfit changing room.
Drag dungeon.
Drag dungeon.
Yeah, drag dungeon. It's actually quite bad. I need to get clean. But yeah. So the more I've done drag, the more chaotic it's become.
So how often do you get to wear them and perform?
So maybe I'll perform 2 to 3 times a week. So
that's quite a lot.
Yeah, so usually Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and maybe like an odd Monday or something. So yeah, so I try not to repeat. I have to think about the venue. So I have to think, okay, this venue, I've worn these outfits before, so I have to wear a different one. So there's that.
So you have to have a full
head.
Excel, Google Sheets spreadsheet where you list this venue, this outfit, and
I wish I was organized like that, but
it's in your brain.
I should be doing that. Now I'll just be thinking, I've worn that bodysuit before. But yeah, so I'm having to think like that. And there'll be outfit changes, so you have to come in with multiple looks usually.
So throughout the show, you change and you put on a new wig, It's a lot of effort.
It's a lot of effort. For example, if it's a gay event, like a big gay event, which is 10 to 5 in the morning, you don't have to, but you prepare maybe an outfit for every hour or 2, a new wig. Oh yeah.
So that's a lot of outfits.
Yeah, it's a lot of outfits. I think for Neon, for example, I will be wearing maybe 7 outfits. They're not all like dramatic, but like.
So how long does it take now? You have like a lot of very nice makeup with different shades of blue around the eyes and some purple, pink. How long does it take to prepare for this kind of?
So maybe today I'm a bit more dramatic than normal. So maybe, I don't know, 3 hours is like me doing it leisurely. But if I'm working at a drag queen bar, it's usually after I've had my main job, so I'm rushing. So I can do it in about an hour, but I don't look as good. So if I want to look my best, it will be about 2-3 hours. Yeah.
How does it work then at an event like Neon where you have to change so often?
So there'll be like dance time. So there'll be maybe a few queens dancing on the stage, and it's like, okay, let's change while they're dancing. So it's quite, you have to kind of look at the room and see, okay, this is my chance. And that's the only kind of Neon and like other Japanese exclusive events is the only time where it's a bit more focused on outfit changes. I don't think at the foreign events, it's not, you're not expected to change. You can wear the same outfit
So it goes back to this, what you were saying earlier about it's kind of also a fashion show where they want to see different outfits and they want to see change and be entertained again, but not necessarily from the performance, rather more by just how you look and just like this wow effect you bring when you step on stage.
One of my senpai drag sisters was telling me a bit about that. Like she was saying that you have to like, it's your chance to appeal to the audience. So like you have so like doing different silhouettes, you can't wear just a catsuit, you have to maybe do a dress, different style wig, because it's like you're selling yourself in that moment. You want people to notice you. So often when I'm thinking, I have like on my notes like, okay, I'm going to be wearing 5 outfits today, what silhouettes are they, what colors, and what I do brown eyeshadow so it matches all the looks. So that would be my preparation.
Plan the color coordination for each of them with the makeup so you can save time. And
yeah. So there's that kind of prep. Yeah.
Do you have one performance that's like very memorable for you that you really remember and that night was like one of the best?
That was it. I would say I do Nicki Minaj a lot. So maybe my favorite performance. So yeah, recently I've done a show called Say My Name, Florence, which is, I have a gold bodysuit and I'm just dancing. But I don't know, I get bored a lot. I think I've got ADHD. So I'm always, I don't like to hold on to like a show that I've done. I like to try something different. Yeah.
Do you feel that, so you mentioned your style of performance, you qualified it as like more stupid, but more just like a bit, just enjoying yourself on stage.
Yeah.
Is there a big difference into what Japanese drags and foreign drags do on stage?
Style wise. But like I was gonna say like, oh, maybe it's more serious, but like there's a lot of stupid like comedy style drag acts I've seen in Japan as well from Japanese drag queens. I would say it's pretty verse, but maybe there's not as many revealing. So like in a foreigner style, what I often see is there's a lot of reveals. So like maybe I'm wearing a dress and it becomes a skirt, or becomes
so you pull something away and suddenly the dress changes on stage.
Yeah, like I've seen that before in Japan, but it's not as common. And maybe the foreigner style is a bit more like voguing dancing style, as maybe in Japan, and it's a bit more about the face and a bit more about the emotion. I feel like that's a more Japanese style.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And then probably what I bring is I'm a bit more like kind of having almost like a seizure. So that's so maybe that's what the foreigner style that I give.
Action.
Yeah.
More action.
Action. Yeah.
More action.
Yeah.
We talked a lot so far about like action on stage and what happens there, but I want to move a little bit into the online and social media sphere, because you mentioned you actually started doing drag at home on social media and kind of posting videos. How is the Japanese drag community online? Are there a lot of people interacting? What kind of interactions do you experience?
Yeah, so for me, to be honest with you, that's probably the biggest side of the job. I wouldn't be a drag queen without social media. Like how I got my first jobs, and even now, is all online. Like the fact I'm talking to you now is because of Instagram and online. So for me, like that is 90% of the job. So SMS is so important. But the community, yeah, I would say it's like that's how you get your inspiration. You see like the different styles of drag. Yeah, so I would say it's your portfolio. So I always see it as a portfolio, and like uploading regularly, because people, if you're always on people's feed, they'll have you in your mind, and that's what I think of it as.
It's kind of like an artist. You're kind of showing what you can do in terms of performance, in terms of outfits. Interesting.
Yeah, so it's like your chance to, like, often for this I'll have like a photo shoot, and then I'll be like putting it as my little portfolio in a way. Yeah.
What about the interactions with people online? Do you get a lot of Japanese people commenting on your posts, or is it more like a Western audience? Because social media is like borderless, right? So from anywhere in the world, people can see your content and find you, and they might comment from the US, from the UK. Do you get Japanese people commenting as well?
I would say like it's probably 50-50. So because of Instagram, because Instagram's probably my main, it goes in, like anyone can watch it. So I'd say the majority England, America, because I looked at the analytics. So it's UK, America, and then Japan is probably 50%. Yeah, but the Japanese people who would watch me would probably be the ones who are going to gay events. Yeah, as the UK and the American, that could be anyone. So it's not, the audience is more widespread, as probably the Japanese audience is people who are familiar with the drag scene. It's rare for me to get a comment from someone who's just stumbled on like a drag queen's page. It's normally like they've had to search for it, or
so they kind of already follow you. They've maybe seen you on stage performing, and then they interact.
As I'll get lots of uncomfortable messages from maybe old men online from America, for example.
Okay.
So yeah, that's the difference. Yeah.
Have you ever been faced with kind of misconceptions, people maybe not understanding what you're doing when you do drag, or when you explain to them like, oh, I'm a drag queen.
Yeah, like even with my own family, like now because recently I went back to the UK and I went to, there's an event called DragCon, which is like RuPaul's Drag Race Associated like convention, and I went there with my mum. So that was like the time where she saw me in drag the first time, and she got to understand like what it was to like what drag was. But before, the conception she had was it was a bit more like on the transgender side, or like kind of more of a fetish side. Like she didn't really, she was educating herself through watching TV, but she didn't really understand it properly. And then like seeing it in person, like she was able to then understand it's a performance, like it's not all sexual. Because a lot of times people think this is all sexual, and of course there's sexual performances. Like sometimes I'm wearing just a bikini, but like also, you know, you can have people who do drag story time, reading to kids, or you make it how you want it to be. So if you want to be that, if you want to be more like the sexy side, you can be. So is it a misconception? I'm not sure, because you can do that, but it doesn't have to be sex or that kind of thing all the time.
What about in Japan?
Yeah.
Have you ever met people when you were maybe not in drag and just telling them you are a drag queen, and they just blink, or do they know about what it is? If
they're not into it, they won't say anything negative, but I can clearly tell that they're uncomfortable, that they don't want to pursue the conversation further, because they will just kind of stay quiet. So I kind of read that as, they're obviously uncomfortable with it for whatever reason, so I won't continue talking about it. So I have a few co-workers who maybe I'll mention it, and I can tell the conversation stops. So I'm like, okay. But in England, if someone's uncomfortable with it, they will tell you they're uncomfortable with it. So like, I probably prefer it in Japan, because if they don't like you, or they don't like drag queens or whatever, they just won't say anything. As in England, you have to be looking after yourself. So when I did my first drag event in the UK, my mum was like, make sure you get in a taxi, you're not walking around on the street, because Nottingham's known for gun crime, Nottingham. So you have to be very careful. Yeah, as in Japan, I'll be walking to the gigs in drag. Yeah, so often I'll just walk. Yeah.
Now it's too hot to walk.
Well, now it's too hot. So maybe
if you have all that makeup will just like melt away. And
it won't. No, I make sure to powder. But yeah, so I'll take the train in drag here, but I would not take the train in drag in London or in.
Has that ever led to like interesting conversations where you sit on a train in drag with a blue wig and someone next to you is like, what are you doing?
They'll be looking, but normally I have, maybe my friend is taking a video, so I'm kind of like posing for the camera. Nothing's ever, just stared a lot.
Do you feel that in Japan cosplay culture is quite big? And it's kind of also getting into another character. Do you feel that for people that don't know drag, they might think you're just doing a cosplay?
Well, sometimes, like the drag I do sometimes becomes For example, today I'm a Pokemon, so this would be probably categorized as drag queen cosplay. So there is some crossover. So I mean, if they thought that today, they would be correct. But most of the time it's not that. It'll be like an original idea or something, or like looking beautiful. But I mean, cosplay is just, dressing up. So in a way, it is cosplay. In a way. Like it's not a character. It's not a character, but we are like putting on like our own character sometimes. Yeah.
So you make up your own cosplay and then cosplay it.
I'm my own character.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it's kind of cool to say, right?
Yeah, exactly. You're cosplaying yourself. But there is obviously time where we're maybe embodying, like a lot of drag queen events, sometimes the theme is Sailor Moon or Zankokunete, Evangelion. So I have a few like Pokemon or like anime inspired outfits.
You make how can you say it in English? You have your own take on that kind of universe, Pokemon, Evangelion, and your own interpretation.
You make it drag.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's part of the fun side of drag, because you can get a topic or a theme, and then you can approach it how you want to. So like this Pokemon, do you know Umbreon? I don't know if you're a Pokemon.
I know Pokemon, but actually I grew up playing the game in French,
Oh.
so I don't know the English names of Pokemon.
Eevee? No.
Yes, the little
Eevee Evolution.
Oh,
The-
okay. I
the
can see it.
shiny version.
I can see.
Yeah.
Now it stands out.
It's all clear.
Yeah.
So I'll have a concept like that, like I want to be a Pokemon. So and then I'll think, okay, so that Pokemon is a shiny, so let me do blue because my name is KiraKira, which means shiny. So I don't know. That'll be my thought process behind it. Yeah. So I think that's one of the things I like about drag. You can kind of get your creative juices into it.
It really is, like you said, a form of like art and self-expression. And another thing you said is it's a big part of the LGBTQ community as well, right? You mentioned that the majority of drag are also gay men. And do you feel that activism plays a role in that community and in drag, or is it really something that we are just doing drag and in the drag community and we are enjoying what we're doing, or do you feel that the drag community is trying to maybe also be more active for social change in the LGBTQ community?
Well, I think, like, probably, to be honest with you, probably, for example, in England, I think there's more activism. I think there's, of course, activism and events where there's spreading a message, but it's not as much as it could be. I would say that it's downplayed a little bit. There's a few drag queens. So there's a Tokyo drag queen called Labiana, and a lot of her shows are very like spreading a message, like about how HIV can be non-transmittable. Like there's and like she's quite well known for that kind of style of drag and spreading message. In Osaka, it's probably because of the style, it's more comedy or
well, Osaka is famous for comedy, right? Manzai and the birth of comedy in Japan.
So there's more that in there. So I don't think I've seen in Osaka a show like that where it's spreading a message, because then it probably, I was saying earlier about drag shows being serious, but that's probably would be considered too serious in the current scene. But I think it should, maybe whilst I'm speaking, I'm like, maybe I should do maybe I should do a serious show, spread a message.
Be the first one in Osaka.
I know, while talking about, that's a good idea. As in England, that's the style. And in the foreign events, that will also be a big kind of topic.
Part of it.
People do shows like that.
Is so drag is really something you get into drag, and when you're not in drag, is the community also kind of close together even when you're not kind of at events, at the bar,
off time?
Yes.
So like in my case, I belong to like a drag family, which is originally from the queens that worked at the bar, but now we're kind of all like a drag queen family. So we will often like hang out, and that's like, funnily enough, we all live in the same neighborhood, so we're all neighbors anyway. So we'll go for yakiniku. We had yakiniku last week. So that's like, I would say my best friends are the queens I've met at drag queen events, because you, not only because there's a chance to hang out, but you have similar interests and stuff. So definitely the off time. Like that's part of, it's my social, like doing drag is how I spend my social life. That's why I don't often have days off, because that's the way I'm socializing. So if I was to not do that, I'm like...
Well, you mentioned at the beginning that you were really like just getting obsessed about it, and you were more and more attracted, and it came to the point that I can't just do this in my room. I need to like get out there.
Definitely. So it was, and you know, I felt like I was procrastinating it, because I'm like, this is my dream, I want to do drag, but I was too scared to. I think at that point, because I was 21 when I started to do drag, so I was still like a bit timid in a way to like do that. I wasn't confident yet, and then doing it more and more, now I don't care. So that's like a big, I don't think that change in me would have happened without drag.
How do you feel that drag has maybe changed your life here in Japan?
Oh, I would say it's just made me more confident. Like I'm not as, I think because you know, drag, it's very vulnerable. You're like, well, in my case, I feel naked because I'm normally in a tight outfit or something. So you just learn to not care as much. And you fall, you know, maybe you fall over or something in a show and the worst things happen to you. And then after that, you're like, well, that's happened. I mean, what?
And I'm still there.
Yeah.
Everything's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you go through a lot of like issues and stuff. So, I mean, you just learn to get over it. Because if you give up, then, you know, your drag career stops there. So you just have to keep on going.
So the drag empowers you, but did you become more confident without drag?
So it's funny you mentioned that. I would say that's probably the downside of it. You invest a lot in your drag self, and then your boy self or your off-time self, so in my case, suffers. So I would, for example, I shave my eyebrows off, and there's a lot of things that then kind of, like, I invest a lot of my money or whatever into my drag, and then I'm like, oh, but then my off time, I'm not buying new clothes.
You're kind of looking for the moment you can get back into drag.
Yeah, and to be honest, I'm probably, apart from when I'm wearing my uniform for work, that's the only time which I'll be in boy self, unless I'm in my pajamas. So I mean, yeah. So if I think about it like that, so sometimes it's a bit like, well, when am I not in drag? Because a lot of drag queen, in my case, I probably identify as non-binary, but a lot of queens will be very separate. I'm in drag, I'm in boy mode. Like, they have a clear separation, and then in my case, it's a bit more fluid. So I don't feel like I'm putting on a character when I'm in drag, but there'd be people who are like, this is my character drag, and then this is my off-time self. Yeah, and there's a few drag queens I know who they identify as transgender. So then for them, their drag is just themselves, or they will have another persona. Yeah.
So it's very personal.
Yeah, person to person. So even my drag sisters, I'll talk to them about it, and they'll have a completely different way of thinking. Yeah.
About the whole drag.
Yeah. I like my drag mom, she's very like, I sometimes I forget because she's the owner of the drag bar, my drag mom, and she will be in drag the entire week. So she's like, she's a man, but she'll be like, I'll forget my own gender because I'm just always in drag. Yeah. Because I understand, like, she's more in drag than she is herself. Yeah.
It's difficult then to
separate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you kind of started joining that community, did you have a sort of mentor, someone that kind of helped you adapt, that you maybe still look up to today?
Yeah, so the queens at the drag bar I work at, which is called Lip Service Promo. So that drag queen bars, all those queens who work there now, they were there from the beginning. So my drag, I would consider her my drag mom, even though she says she's not, is Yudai Takaita Yuda. It's a long name. She's the owner of the drag queen bar, but she was one of the first drag queens I saw perform. And then based on seeing her show, I exchanged Instagram, and then I saw that she was working at a drag queen bar. And then I applied. So like, probably if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be a drag queen. And then there's other Japanese drag queens who like kind of teach me how to operate as a drag queen in the Japanese scene. And they'll be they tell me so many things, because there's so many things I would, for example, I have this glass, and if I was to kanpai with you now, the first time I would do like England's like cheers, like but in Japanese style you have to do it
a little
like
bit
underneath.
below.
Yeah, so all those kind of minor things, it's kind of not only helped me with operating as a drag queen, but also kind of understanding Japanese culture in a way. Yeah.
You mentioned that the community is slowly growing, maybe a bit more in Tokyo than in Osaka. What would you personally like to kind of see for your future in drag here in Japan at that bar that you're currently working at? Do you have any kind of dreams?
Aspirations. I would say like I want drag queens to be like seen more. Like I think, you know, so many queens I know, like they do amazing shows, but like maybe 30 people see them. I'm like, this should be seen in front of so many people. So I think it's just people need to like see drag more in Japan. I feel like in England it's so common. Like you ask anyone, they know what a drag queen is. Still here, you have to explain what it is. So for me, I think having the scene grow where you don't have to describe to someone what it is where I want drag to go. And like TV, I think that's, everyone has a TV in their house. So I think drag needs a Japanese drag race. That would be something.
Hello, RuPaul, if you're listening to us.
Yeah, RuPaul, yeah. So that would be something which, I would love to do in the future. Yeah, so,
You could be the one to organize it.
Yeah, Kira's drag race. Yeah, the host. No. But so for me, that would be mainstream. Yeah, that's the thing. Because right now in Japan, it's getting there, but it's not mainstream yet.
Yeah, little by little.
Yeah.
At a slower pace.
Yeah, they have a France drag race. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nikki Doll, she does that.
It's spreading, but it still needs some time.
Yeah, to grow.
Thank you very much for answering all of our questions.
Thank you.
But
you for having me.
I want to ask you if maybe there's a topic that I didn't touch upon in the drag community or about your drag that you would have liked to talk about.
Yeah, so in Osaka, one big group is House of Kinky, and one great thing about them is that they accept like all styles of drag, so not just drag queens but drag kings. And maybe like there's a style of drag called drag fusion, which is like more androgynous. So like I think that is something that is growing more and more, and I hope that is seen more in England. So when I went back to England, that was one thing I noticed. Like there were so many like non-binary drag queens or drag kings, and it wasn't so like semi. It wasn't just like one.
So
narrow. Yeah. And right now in Japan, it's a bit kind of, there's a style of drag. Yeah. So I think that is something House of Kinky is doing amazing there.
It's a place in Osaka.
Yeah, it's a drag group in Osaka, and they do drag events in Kobe and in Osaka. They do a drag race viewing party, which I sometimes host. So and I would say also the queens at Lip Service, they're a drag queen bar, but all of them are amazing performers. They perform across Japan as well.
If we want to find you performing, we'll have to go to Lip Service in Osaka.
Lip Service, I don't do any shows. That's for like talking. So but like if you but through there, you can get to know me in person.
Yeah.
But yeah, usually I perform in like theatre, like Ludo. There's a theatre in Shinsaibashi. Gaze, which is another drag event. It's in my Instagram bio. But
we'll link everything in the description below so people can find you as well.
In the description, yeah. So hopefully you'll find me in more places. You might see me on the train. A lot of people say they see me walking. So,
even Andrew said before the show on
Oh,
Instagram, I saw you on the boat party.
So if it's the summer, you'll see me on a boat. Yes, I often do drag cruises as well. So I'm known for seeing me on a boat in front of Glico. Yeah.
In Dotonbori. Down in Osaka.
It's makes you feel seasick. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, KiraKira,
No, thank you
for answering all our questions. This was super interesting and certainly learned a lot about drag, your drag, and drag in Japan.
Not all the questions.
Not all the questions.
Oh,
we still have a few more from Andri. I hope you're ready for a little trivia.
Okay, so this is the trivia segment. And there will be 3 questions, and you compete with Toby to probably guess.
Probably win.
Number, probably win.
Yes. Probably.
Yeah.
Let's see. So the first question is on history. When Oxford Dictionary has had the entry of drag queen definition. What year was it when drag queen entered Oxford Dictionary?
You can go first.
Is it the one who gets it to the closest? Because I'm not going to get the exact year. 1976.
1976.
I'll say 1994.
1994. That's very recent. 1941.
Wow. Well, you got much closer, but I didn't expect it to be so old.
I only thought because I think like drag, like Shakespeare and stuff. I think it was me. I don't know. Yeah.
Okay, let's get a little bit closer in history. RuPaul's Drag Race.
Okay,
RuPaul.
I should know this one. Yeah.
Got a star on a Hollywood Walk of Fame.
They did
a few years ago. When was that?
2018.
2014.
2014. It was 2018.
Oh,
exactly.
Congratulations.
I just felt it. That
there
was
you
quite
go.
good.
2018.
Great.
Well-deserved star.
Yeah. Did I get a star? Forgetting it.
You get a star. We should get some like stars.
Yeah,
or some
we
prizes
can get
for
some.
winners.
Give me a sticker.
In
In the works.
We'll get there. Okay, I'm probably pronouncing it wrong.
Okay.
Maybe a girl, a famous drag queen in the US who became first elected public officer, became a public officer in what year?
I think I've heard this news.
So many history questions.
Yeah.
They came
I have no idea.
2022.
2022. Whoa.
07. Like
What is
2007.
it? 2007.
Yeah.
Okay, it was 2019. I went in chronological order from like
You
19.
got it closest again.
I knew it. I thought it was recent.
So 3 points for KiraKira.
Oh my God.
Too bad we don't have anything for you.
We will eventually.
The reward
Yeah.
of winning in
Yeah.
itself is the prize.
Yeah, congratulations. But most importantly, thank you very much for your time again,
No, thank
because
you.
I think this is an important topic to talk about, and I hope that a lot of people will be interested and maybe come to see you and find you in person or follow you on social media. Spread the word about drag. Thank you, Andrew. This was Fish and Rice, Stories from Japan. And thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And we'll see you again next week. Bye.
Bye bye. Thank you for having me.